This document was collected from the internet, please delete within 24 hours. Need help finding resources? Add WeChat, Jiangqing_0. When I hit the 5th year of immigration, wife marched straight into the house with White Moon and his daughter. Gabriel and Tessa just got here, they'll stay with us for a while. I had one hell of a fight with her over that. Then, on my birthday, Serena pushed a divorce agreement across the table and urged, sign fast. Gabriel needs the green card here. We'll do a fake breakup for now. I frowned, wanting to ask exactly what that meant. Serena jabbed a finger at my face and yelled that I didn't have a shred of pity. A little later I saw Cameron's Instagram post, Avery's ready to divorce for me and the kid. We finally have a place to stand. I quietly gave it a like, signed the papers, and filed a request with the firm to transfer back home. When manager got my request, he sounded shocked. Dylan, the way you fought to get overseas, now you want back. I dipped my head in a bleak laugh. My parents still live back in the States. Better to be closer. Just then Serena pushed the bedroom door open. She caught that last sentence and pinched her brows. Who said anything about going home? I didn't answer. I finished chatting with manager and hung up. When I turned around, her dark eyes were drilling holes through me. Who did you say is going back? I brushed her off. A colleague is putting in for repatriation. Serena's mouth curled, sarcastic. Thought maybe it was you. Then again, no, after all the grind it took to land me, you could never walk away. She reached to circle my waist. Husband, once Gabriel's green card comes through, we'll make a baby. Serena has always been slap first, sweet later. But the candy she's offering now just tastes stale. I pushed her hands away. Future stuff, let's talk about it in the future. She froze for a second, then softened her voice. You're not fighting me this time. Feels weird. I braced for a death match over this. The phrase clawed at me, husband and wife ready to kill each other over a stranger. A dry chuckle slipped out. After all those screaming matches, I'm tired. On cue she began listing my crimes, how I used to pick fights over Cameron, how unreasonable I was, how every quarrel shredded her heart. It's her classic move, inch forward the moment I yield one step. Which means every mile we've traveled, I'm the one who's backpedaled. She said she needed to come abroad, so I left my parents and begged the firm for an overseas post. She said she wasn't ready for kids, so I took the heat from my parents and told them I was the one who didn't want a baby. In the end, none of it outweighed a single sentence from Cameron. I stood quietly, looking at her. I'm done fighting. Pride flashed across her face. Good. Gabriel and I are only friends, stop acting jealous. And if I finished the line for her, if anything ever happened between us, you wouldn't be in the running. I've heard it 1,000 times. She nodded, satisfied. As long as you get that. I said, voice flat, I should have understood a long time ago. Should have understood that in Serena's heart I can't measure up to one of Cameron's fingertips. From the hallway came a childish yell. Mommy. Mommy, come play house with me. Daddy's hopeless. Instinctively Serena stood to answer. Halfway out the door she glanced back. I'm going to spend a few minutes with Tessa, she's only a little girl, and Gabriel I cut her off. No need to explain. I believe you. She hesitated, dropped an uneasy fine, believe me then, and left. Cameron's kid started calling Serena mommy the day they moved in. When I objected, Serena scolded me. Casey, where's your compassion? The child has no mother, poor thing. Each time Tessa shouted mommy, my chest twisted. Now I felt nothing. I pressed my palm over my heart and gave a bright, empty smile. So once you decide you don't love her, it stops hurting. 2. Laughter and thuds drifted in from outside. Mommy. Tessa bleated every few minutes, and Serena answered in honeyed tones while I mapped my next moves. Eventually my phone rang. My mom. She asked whether I'd eaten longevity noodles, whether I'd had birthday cake. I realized I'd touched nothing all day. Before hanging up she asked, timid, when I was coming home. 5 years abroad, and my visits could be counted on one hand. At first the job wasn't steady, later Serena said shuttling back and forth was a hassle. I walked out of the bedroom and Tessa hurled a plastic toy at me. Bad guy. Why are you in my house? Are you gonna steal my mommy again? Before I could speak, Cameron bowed an apology. Sorry, Julian kids, don't take it to heart. Serena, face dark, cut in, it's nothing to apologize for. And anyway, she's only scared because he once yelled at her. She stepped in front of the pair, shielding them. Rowan, you're not going to hold a grudge against a 5-year-old, are you? How pathetic would that be? I hadn't said a word, yet somehow every sin was mine. I'll leave you to it, I only need something from the fridge. I opened the door. The birthday cake I'd spent the afternoon on was gone. My gaze swung to the living room table, its ruins sat there, frosting smeared, candles snapped. Serena noticed and shrugged. That was yours? Tessa didn't like it. We left it there. I can buy you another. I picked the mangled thing up and dropped it in the trash. No need. I walked out. I hadn't cleared the door before Serena came running. Rowan, where are you going? It was the first time she'd abandoned Cameron and followed me. What do you want? I asked, genuinely puzzled. In the past, when she chased after me I'd be ecstatic, whatever she'd done would melt away. Now she couldn't read my blank reaction. I saw you leave without a word, so I came to check. I gave a non-committal grunt. Just need food. Cameron appeared with Tessa. Julian, Tessa's craving hot pot. Come with us, my treat, an apology. I'm not Dash. Serena answered for me. Great, and you drive. Since I'd already decided to leave, I couldn't be bothered to argue. I fetched the SUV. When I pulled up she hopped in back with Cameron and Tessa, reflexively forming a cozy trio. Halfway down the block she noticed and hurried to justify it. The little girl's attached to me, I had to dash. In the mirror I watched their happy little family and cut her off. Back seat's perfect. Up front's the death seat. She flinched. She was the one who'd told me that years ago when I'd fussed over who rode shotgun. For the rest of the drive I felt like the chauffeur watching sitcom outtakes. 3. They trooped into the hot pot place first. When I parked and walked in I saw only 3 place settings. Serena had started waving for another set when Tessa burst into tears. I don't want to eat with the creepy uncle. Daddy says he wants to steal my mommy. Cameron covered her mouth, mortified. Kids, take no notice, Julian. Serena hugged Tessa, rocking her, glaring at me as if I were the villain. I smiled at the little girl. Sweetheart, your mom will always be your mom. I'm not stealing anyone. The look in Serena's eyes changed instantly. Before she could speak I chose a corner table and ate alone. Their laughter kept rolling over, but it didn't touch the taste of my soup. By the time I finished, she phoned. Julian, where are you? We're done. Wait for us in the parking lot. The entitlement in her voice was surreal. Did she really think I'd chauffeur them home after that? I'm already at the house, I said flatly. Instant fury. What the hell, Rowan? We came together, you ditch us? I replied, calm, aren't you 3 off to a movie? Whatever she planned to roar next jammed in her throat. I'd exited the restaurant early. I'd seen Cameron's post photo of the trio captioned, the movie Tessa's always wanted to watch with mom and dad finally. Under it a friend gushed, you two finally got together, congrats. Cameron answered with a koi emoji. After a few seconds of silence Serena insisted, you could still come. Didn't you complain we never went to movies together? I laughed. No thanks. Enjoy the show. At home a company email was waiting, my transfer had been approved. Wrap up and fly back. Best news I'd had in days. Serena returned still sulking over my tone on the phone, grabbed her pajamas, and showered. When she stepped out, I was already in bed. She stood at the bedside, burning a hole through my eyelids. Just as the stare turned unbearable, my phone rang. Dylan. It's your birthday. The firm has perks, I'm dropping them off. Manager's booming voice filled the night. I went out, thanked him, carried the gift bags back. Serena was rummaging in the fridge. I set the stuff down and returned to bed. Moments later she appeared, fidgeting. We're out of noodles. I wanted to dash. My yawn cut her off. No need. I ate plenty at dinner. The unease on Serena's face deepened. I forgot it was your birthday, sorry. I answered carelessly. Doesn't matter. It's just a birthday. Whether we celebrate or not makes no difference. After that I switched off the light and went to sleep. Not a single dream the whole night. 4. In the days that followed, Serena came back to the bedroom on the dot every night. But I was buried in the handover of my workload and had no time for her. I assumed this fragile peace would last until the day I walked out for good until, while clearing the study, I found a positive pregnancy report. It carried Serena's name. The date was 2 months ago. I stared for a moment, then ransacked the rest of the room. At the very bottom of the last drawer I uncovered a consent form for a termination. It said the fetus was 10 weeks along and already had a heartbeat. At the bottom Cameron's signature crawled across the page. The heart that had been hanging in midair finally died. Whatever weakness Serena had stirred in me these past days turned back to stone. I took the consent form and the divorce agreement she had once handed me and walked into the living room. Serena and Cameron were watching a movie. Before she could speak I thrust the termination paper toward her. Serena's eyes dropped, her face twisted in panic. Julian. Husband, listen to me. This is only because Tessa is so small. I couldn't be cruel. Her excuse drew a short, bitter laugh from me. You aborted our child for somebody else's sake, Serena. That's cold enough. Color drained from her cheeks, her lips twitched but produced no words. I regarded her coldly and offered the divorce agreement. Serena, let's end it. I've already signed. You won't have to stage a fake split for anyone. I am giving you exactly what you want. 5. Her eyes flew wide. Divorce? She asked, voice shaking. Julian, you're leaving me? I lifted the paper so she could see the signature. She snatched the agreement, tore it to shreds, and snarled, I refuse. We'll have another child. Husband, no divorce. Beside us Cameron dropped to his knees. Julian, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Avery went through this because of Tessa. Blame me dash. I hauled him upright and smashed my fist into his face. He cupped his cheek, fury glinting, but did nothing. You thought I'd never hit you, didn't you? Something in my stare made him lower his eyes for once. Instinctively Serena stepped between us, shielding Cameron. What's between us shouldn't drag in a third person. I chose the abortion, don't blame him. I couldn't stand watching Tessa panic just because I was pregnant. Her self-proclaimed selflessness almost made me laugh. You killed a child, Serena. Ours. Guilt flickered across her face, then vanished. That child wasn't even born, hardly a person. What could it understand? Tessa is alive, I can't be selfish. Why can't you see that? Listening to her warped logic, I decided it was better our baby never drew breath. No child deserves a loveless home. The thought doused my anger. I glanced at the shredded scraps, then met her righteous gaze. Quietly I said, I'll have another copy printed and couriered over. Serena clutched my sleeve, pleading, we'll try again. Once Gabriel and Tessa move out, we'll make a baby of our own. Before I could answer, a hard shove sent me stumbling. Tessa's furious little voice rang out behind me. Bad man. You're stealing my mommy again. Get out of my house. She hurled a tumbler at my forehead. It struck before I could dodge, warm blood began to trickle. Cameron hugged her protectively, afraid I might retaliate. Julian, I'm sorry, Tessa's only scared. She's just a kid, don't press charges. I'll cover the medical bill. Serena added, she's too young to have her life ruined. I looked at the three of them, united against me, and gave a soft laugh. Once steady on my feet, I stared at Serena. Love once there had turned to pure disappointment. Realization hit her. She released Tessa and rushed over. Husband, let me bandage that dash. I shoved her away. This marriage is over, Serena. All of you get out of my house. I pressed a hand to the gash and headed for the door. Before I crossed the threshold, a sharp pain flared in my arm. 6. I looked down. A fresh knife slash gaped, blood slid in thin rivulets. Behind me, Tessa's face was contorted, the kitchen knife clenched in her fist. Bad man. You want us homeless die. She swung again. I pushed her to the carpet. Serena scooped her up and screamed, Rowan, have you lost it? Attacking a child. She's only 5, she doesn't know. Ignoring the cut, I herded them out. They fled to the hospital with Tessa, too busy to argue. Much later I followed. The doctor scolded me for showing up after the bleeding had stopped. Outside, I met Serena and Cameron carrying Tessa. Her gaze flicked to my bandage, worry crossed her face, but Cameron spoke first. Avery, talk to Julian. I'll come by tomorrow and pack. I can raise Tessa alone, I won't disrupt your life. He started to leave. Tessa woke wailing for mommy. Serena looked torn, then apologetic. Julian, go home. I'll be back tomorrow, we'll talk. There's no need for a fake divorce anymore, I won't agree to a real one either. She took Tessa and soothed her as they walked away. Cameron glanced back once, shining in his eyes. I returned to the house heavy with memories. I had bought it my second year abroad, choosing every tile and lamp myself, planning to live and die here. On move-in day, Serena had kissed me breathless, promising we would grow old under this roof. Now we were scattering like ash. In the study, I found the dusty jigsaw puzzle of our engagement photo, abandoned halfway because Tessa disliked it. I carried it to the yard, struck a match, and watched our image curl into gray flakes. My love for Serena burned away with it. I spent the next day packing my belongings. The morning after, Serena stepped in, stared at the half-empty living room, and demanded, "Where did everything go?" I skipped explanations and asked when she would collect her things. Her face darkened. "Rowan, after what you saw Tessa go through, you know the abortion wasn't casual cruelty. Can't you understand? I couldn't wound a child for my own sake." I nodded at once. "I do understand." Her smile faltered as I finished, which is why divorce is the best solution. You get the green card for Cameron, Tessa keeps her stand-in mom, and no one is selfish perfect. She clung to the word fake. But I've decided this divorce will be real. I cut her off. "Box your belongings when you're ready." When she started another plea, I added, "There's a security camera in the living room. If you don't want Tessa in trouble, sign." The threat stunned her, lips parted, no sound came. Finally she muttered an excuse and fled. Watching her run, I felt only irritation, no ache, no pity. 7. The next few days Serena stayed away. I didn't seek her out. I finished packing, cleaned every corner, and called the realtor to list the house. The very next morning she reappeared, taking in the stacked luggage with blank disbelief. "Rowan, what are you doing? Why is my stuff boxed?" I looked at her, genuinely puzzled. "We're divorcing, your things don't belong here anymore." "Relax, I've tossed everything you hated." She protested, "I won't sign. I only wanted to help them, that's all. You've always understood me, don't stop now." Her voice shrank until even she could barely hear it. I answered kindly, "I understand perfectly. Tessa adores you, go be her mother for real." Serena shook her head frantically, claiming she had no wish to replace anyone. I laughed. "You recoil at the title yet let the child call you mommy, you swear you dislike Cameron yet hurt me again and again for him. Don't you feel a single twinge when you say that?" Before she could reply the doorbell rang. Expecting the realtor, I opened to find Cameron and Tessa instead. Tessa shot me a glare the instant she saw me. Then she ran straight to Serena. "Mommy. Tessa missed you so much." Cameron spoke up, sounding guilty. "Sorry to barge in. Tessa has a doll she has to hug to sleep, so I came without asking. And I figured I'd pick up the rest of our stuff while I'm here." The whole time he said it, Cameron kept a faint smile pinned on me, as if he were certain I wouldn't let him move a single box. He had good reason. In every fight we'd ever had, I'd always been the one to step back. Every single time I'd surrendered to Serena. Not this time. I curved my lips in a grin, pointed at the stacked luggage in the corner, and let the amusement show in my voice. "It's all right there. Help yourself." Cameron's face froze for a second. He clearly hadn't expected that outcome. While he groped for something to say, I went on. "Take Serena's bags too. Makes it easier for the two of you to live together." His expression cycled from disbelief to something long and calculating. Tessa, on the other hand, was delighted and tried to tug Serena away. Cameron stopped her. "Avery is staying here. Let's go home by ourselves, okay?" Tessa burst into loud sobs at once. Cameron scooped her up, dragged his own luggage out, and left. I wasn't surprised. I'd always known Cameron didn't love Serena. He just wanted a free place to crash. The moment Serena heard they were moving to the States, she'd flung herself at him. After Cameron left, it took Serena a long moment to reset. She lifted a hand toward me and forced the words out. "Husband, I've sent them away. Can we please start over?" Her eyes brimmed with expectation. I chuckled, carried her suitcase to the doorstep myself, and stood there looking at her. Serena stared back, hard. When she finally understood I wouldn't change my mind, she trudged away, head low. A short while later her message pinged in. "I won't agree to a divorce. When you calm down, we'll talk." The day after Serena walked out, I had the realtor come over early. I signed the papers and gave him full authority to sell the house. That same evening I flew back to China, luggage in tow. 8. When I rang the bell at Riley, my parents needed a second to realize who was standing there. My mother's eyes swept over me, her voice cracked. "Sweetheart. What are you doing here?" Even my father, who never shows emotion, had reddened eyes. Mom yanked me inside and bustled around getting things ready. Minutes later the table held my favorite braised beef rice noodles. She urged me to eat. I wolfed down the noodles, broth and all. Only when the bowl was empty did Dad ask, "Why the big luggage this time?" I wiped my mouth. "Got tired of the food over there." I asked for a transfer back. My parents blinked. Avery Mom still couldn't believe it. "You mean you're not going back?" I threw an arm around her shoulders and nodded firmly. "Right. I'm staying home with you." She pretended to scold me, saying who asked for my company, but her grin kept widening. Dad cut straight to the point. "What about Serena? She's over there alone?" Serena had moved abroad soon after we married. She'd hardly spent any time with them, practically a stranger. I told them plainly that Serena and I were divorcing. Avery sighed. "As long as you're happy." That night I slept in my old bedroom and dreamed good dreams the whole way through. I took a week's leave from the firm and road tripped with my parents. Their smiles grew every day. Meanwhile, back in the States, Serena learned the house had been sold. When she went over and rang forever, no one answered. The realtor showed up with prospective buyers. That was how she found out. She tried my number over and over, always hearing, "The number you have dialed is not available." She showed up at the firm. The manager told her I'd requested repatriation. Voice shaking, she asked when. The manager answered without thinking, the day of his birthday. Leaving the office, she replayed that birthday in her head. She'd forgotten it and floated the fake divorce idea, and suddenly I'd applied to go home. There had to be something else she needed to ask me face to face. She booked the next flight to China. After she landed, she couldn't remember where Riley was. She tried the company again and heard I was on leave. She flicked through her contacts for any friend of mine and came up empty. She didn't even have my parents' numbers. Only then did it hit her how little she knew about me. She checked into a hotel near the office and called nonstop. I lost track of how many times the phone rang before I finally picked up. Coolly I asked what she wanted. Years of habit made her snap. "How could you sell the house? What am I supposed to do?" I answered, puzzled, "But I bought it, didn't I?" Back then, because she'd said she wanted a home of our own, I'd worked overtime, landed clients, and finally closed on the place. I'd wanted to put her name on the deed, but she'd refused. "Serena, it's my house." Before she could argue I added, "I've handed the divorce to my lawyer. Contact him if you need anything." I hung up, ignoring whatever she started to shout. 9. I found out she'd flown over only the next morning, when the officers escorted her to Riley. I stared at her sitting in the living room, wondering what stunt this was. My parents volunteered to take a walk so we could talk. I looked at her calmly. "What brings you back?" Her eyes reddened. "Rowan, you're cruel. You sold the house and vanished without a word." I laughed. "Serena, divorce is what you kept asking for. I just gave it to you." She shot back without thinking, "I never wanted a divorce. I've only ever loved you." I smiled, sour and slow. "Really? You show love by carving me up? That kind of love I can't afford." She opened her mouth and found nothing to say. At last she realized how deep the cuts had gone. After a long silence she murmured, "I only wanted to help Cameron. I never meant to hurt you. It isn't love, it's just some old teenage obsession I couldn't let go of." It was the first time she'd tried to explain what Cameron meant to her, but I no longer cared. I gave her a flat She fell silent. I sighed. "If there's nothing else, you should leave. It's hot." My parents could get heatstroke waiting outside. She hadn't expected to be dismissed outright. She stared, stunned. I opened the door and waited. Finally she drooped and walked away. I thought that was the last of her, but she rented a place nearby. Every day she left a homemade meal on my doorstep. Mom spotted the thermal box and asked, flustered, what to do. I glanced at it and said, "Leave it. She'll come get it herself." Serena didn't seem to mind the cold shoulder. Day after day she cooked something different, later adding little desserts. At last I lost patience and waited by the door. When she saw me her face lit up. She held out the box cautiously. "Husband, today it's spare ribs and broccoli, plus cream puffs I made. Try some?" I took the box. Her smile widened until I walked straight to the trash can, looked back at her stunned face, and dropped the whole thing in. The lid clanged shut, her eyes turned red in an instant. "Why?" she whispered, voice cracking. I answered coldly, "You're interfering with my life." She stood there, blank. "I just want to be good to you. I don't want a divorce." I didn't feel a thing. "Stop wasting your breath. There's no chance for us." Serena's face was streaked with tears. "Why won't you forgive me? The one I love is you." I let out a soft laugh, my voice ice cold. "I've had enough of the days when I loved you." Serena stared at me for a long, long time. Then she turned away slowly. Not long after, the realtor told me the house had been sold. The buyer never negotiated. When I signed the e-contract, I saw Serena's name. I didn't ask questions. I simply finished signing and waited for the wire. Life moved along its quiet track. Plain, but happy. One day a month later, a colleague overseas called to say my former house had been torched. I was startled. He said a child had done it. The image of Tessa flashed through my mind. After hanging up, I searched online. It really was Tessa. Serena had turned cold toward her lately. She wouldn't let the father and daughter inside anymore. Tessa decided Serena had become evil. She wanted to teach her a lesson. So, after Serena came home, Tessa lit a fire and tossed it into the yard. Who knew the gust that day would be so strong? The blaze spread within minutes. By the time Serena finished her shower, there was no escape. She died in the flames. Because of her age, Tessa received only a verbal warning. Cameron was hit with a heavy fine. I never expected the money to end up in my hands. In the end, I donated every dollar to a charity for mountain area children. Not long after, Cameron was indicted by the state's police for child abandonment resulting in death. When I saw the headline, I skimmed past. All of that was already my past. My happiness was right in front of me. Julian. Dinner's ready. Your dad made your favorite braised spare ribs. Coming. I jumped out of bed and sprinted toward those ribs of happiness. 5. My words made Serena's eyes fly open. Divorce? She asked, trembling. Julian, you want a divorce? I gave the papers a little shake, my signature was already dry. Serena snatched them, shredded them, and snarled, I won't divorce. We'll have another child. Husband, don't do this. Beside us, Cameron dropped to his knees. Julian, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Serena terminated the pregnancy because of Tessa. Blame me, I dash. I hauled him up and smashed my fist into his face. He clutched his cheek, hatred in his eyes. But he could do nothing. You thought I'd never hit you, like before? My stare was blunt, and for once Cameron lowered his gaze. Serena stepped between us, shielding him. Our mess doesn't involve a third person. I chose the abortion, don't blame him. I couldn't bear to watch Tessa panic over my pregnancy. Her selfless speech almost made me laugh. I couldn't help firing back, Serena, you aborted our child, our child. A flicker of guilt crossed her face, gone in a heartbeat. That baby wasn't born, not even a person yet, what could she understand? Tessa is alive, I can't be selfish. Why can't you see that? Her warped logic convinced me the child was better off unborn. A loveless home would only breed misery. Thinking that, my anger cooled. I glanced at the torn paper on the floor, then at righteous Serena. Quietly I said, I'll have a new copy printed and mailed to you. She clutched my sleeve, pleading, we'll have another. After Gabriel and Tessa move out, we'll make our own baby. Before I could answer, something shoved me hard from behind. Tessa's shrill voice rang out, bad man. You're stealing mommy again. You're evil, get out of my house. She hurled a glass tumbler at my forehead. I didn't duck in time, the glass struck. Warm blood trickled down. Afraid I'd retaliate, Cameron hugged Tessa tight. Julian, I'm sorry, she's only scared, just a kid. Don't be mad, okay? I'll pay the medical bill. Before I spoke, Serena added, she's only 5, Julian, her life can't be ruined. Looking at the three of them united, I gave a soft laugh. Staggering upright, I met Serena's gaze. Where love once lived, only disappointment remained. Serena finally noticed. She rushed toward me. Husband, let me dress that dash. I shoved her away. Serena, this divorce is final. Move out soon. I pressed my sleeve to the cut and headed for the door. But before I crossed the threshold, a sharp pain stabbed my arm. 6. I looked down. A fresh knife slash glared red. Blood slid to my wrist. Behind me, Tessa's face was twisted, the kitchen knife in her hand. Bad man. You throw us out, die. She swung again. I pushed her to the carpet. Serena scooped her up, roaring, Rowan, have you lost it? Attacking a child. She's little, she doesn't know. Ignoring the wound, I herded them out. Serena and Cameron, busy with Tessa, quit arguing and sped to the hospital. Hours later I followed. The doctor scolded me for showing up so late, then stitched the cut. Outside, I ran into Serena and Cameron holding Tessa. Serena's gaze flicked to my bandage, worry flashed across her face. Cameron spoke first. Avery, talk to Julian. I'll come tomorrow to pack. I'll raise Tessa alone, no more disrupting your life. He turned to leave. Tessa, suddenly awake, screamed for mommy. Serena, bewildered, gave me an apologetic glance. Julian, go home. I'll be back tomorrow, we'll talk. I won't agree to divorce, we don't even need the fake one now. She took Tessa and soothed her. As they left, Cameron looked back, eyes gleaming with triumph. Back inside, memories flooded every corner. I'd bought the place my second year abroad. Every lamp, every tile chosen by hand. That first night Serena had kissed me, promising we'd grow old here. Now we were fragments. In the study, a dusty jigsaw puzzle lay half-finished. It was a photo of us. We'd planned to frame it above the mantel. But Tessa said she hated it, so Serena quit. I carried the pieces to the yard, struck a match, and watched our image turn to ashes. My love for Serena burned with it. All day I packed my belongings into luggage. The next morning Serena walked in and froze. Rowan, where's everything? I asked when she'd collect her things. She darkened. You saw Tessa yesterday. The abortion was forced. Can't you understand? I couldn't wound a child. I nodded at once. I do understand. Her smile began, then crumbled as I added, that's why divorce is best. You get Cameron his green card, Tessa keeps her mom, kids need moms. It was supposed to be a paper divorce, why are you dash? But I truly want the divorce. I cut her off. Pack soon. She opened her mouth, I raised a finger. Serena, the living room security camera records everything. Sign, or she might be in real trouble. She gaped, then fled. Watching her run, I felt only irritation. 7. Serena stayed away the next few days. I didn't seek her. I boxed the rest, cleaned every surface, and called the realtor. The listing went live. The very next day Serena returned. She stared at the stacked luggage, dazed. Rowan, what is this? Why are my things packed? I frowned. We're divorcing, your belongings don't belong here. Relax, I tossed the stuff you hated. She protested, I won't divorce. I only wanted to help them, husband. You've always understood me, won't you now? Her voice faded to a whisper. I answered gently, I get your kind heart. Tessa adores you, be her mom. She shook her head frantically, clutching my hand. Serena, I said, don't those words feel hollow? Before she could reply, the doorbell rang. I expected the realtor, it was Cameron and Tessa. Tessa glared, then sprinted into Serena's arms. Mom. Tessa missed you so much. Cameron spoke up, sounding almost apologetic, sorry to intrude. Tessa can't sleep without her doll, so I took the liberty of coming over. I figured I'd grab the rest of our things while I'm at it. The whole time he talked, Cameron kept a faint little smirk trained on me, as if he were absolutely certain I wouldn't let him move a single box. And why not? In every past fight I'd always been the one to step back. Every single time I'd surrendered to Serena. Not today. I hooked a grin right back at him, pointed to the pile of luggage stacked in the corner, and let sweet amusement lace my voice. Everything's right there, help yourself. Cameron's face froze for a split second. He clearly hadn't expected that outcome. Just as he started to gather his next sentence, I kept going, take Serena's bags too, it'll be more convenient now that you two are living together. His expression cycled through colors, disbelief sliding into something calculating. Tessa, on the other hand, was thrilled and tried to tug Serena toward the door. But Cameron stopped her. Avery lives here, sweetheart. Let's go home ourselves, okay? The moment she heard that, Tessa burst into loud sobs. Cameron scooped her up, dragged his suitcases out, and left. I wasn't surprised. I'd long since realized Cameron didn't actually love Serena. He just wanted a free place to eat and sleep. Once Serena learned they were leaving the States, she'd rushed to offer herself. After Cameron walked out, it took Serena ages to react. She lifted a hand to grab me and forced out the words. "Husband, I've sent them away. Can we please go back to how things were?" Her eyes brimmed with expectation. I gave a soft laugh, carried her luggage outside myself, and stood on the threshold looking at her. Serena stared hard, and only when she saw I wouldn't budge did she trudge away, head down. Not long after, I received her message. "I refuse to divorce. Once you calm down, we'll talk." The day after Serena left, I had the realtor come over early. I signed the paperwork and handed him full authority to sell the house. That same night I flew back home, suitcase in hand. 8. When I appeared at the front door with my luggage, parents didn't register who it was for a good 2 seconds. My mother glanced once, twice, then choked out. "Son, when did you get back?" Even my father, who never shows emotion, had reddened eyes. Mom yanked me inside and bustled about making food. In no time, the table held my favorite braised beef rice noodle soup. She urged me to eat. I wolfed down the noodles, then tilted the bowl and drank every drop of broth. Only after Dad saw the empty bowl did he ask, "Why the mountain of luggage?" I wiped my mouth and answered, "Couldn't stomach the food over there, so I requested a transfer back." Parents exchanged a stunned blink. Avery, my mom, still couldn't believe it. "You mean you're not going back?" I draped an arm around her shoulders and nodded hard. "Yep, I'm staying right here to keep you company." She rolled her eyes, muttering who asked for my company, but her grin kept widening. My father cut straight to it. "What about Serena? She's still abroad alone?" She'd left for the States soon after we married and had spent almost no time with parents. They were basically strangers. I told them plainly that Serena and I were divorced. Mom, Avery sighed softly. "As long as you're happy, that's all that matters." That night I slept in my old bed and dreamed sweet dreams the whole night through. I'd specially asked the firm for a week off, and I took parents on road trips everywhere. The smiles on their faces grew day by day. While we lived in comfort back home, Serena, still in the States, found out I'd sold the house. She rang the bell again and again, but no one answered. Just then the realtor showed up with prospective buyers, and that's how she learned the place was already on the market. She called my phone nonstop, always hearing, "The number you have dialed is not available." She went to the firm. Manager told her I'd applied for repatriation. Voice trembling, she asked when. Manager answered without thinking, "He filed it on his birthday." After she left, Serena replayed that birthday over and over in her head. All she'd done was forget the date and mention a fake divorce. How could that make me suddenly move back to China? Something else had to be going on. She needed to confront me and get every detail. That same day she bought a ticket and flew over. Yet when she landed, she couldn't remember where Riley was. She tried the company again. They said I was on leave. She scoured her contacts for any of my friends' numbers but came up empty. She didn't even have parents' phone. In that instant Serena realized she knew nothing about me. She checked into a hotel near the office and kept calling. After who knows how many tries, I picked up. Coolly I asked what she wanted. Years of habit made her snap. "How could you sell our house? What am I supposed to do?" I answered, genuinely puzzled, "But I paid for it, remember?" Back when she'd said she wanted a home of our own, I'd worked insane overtime and closed deal after deal to buy it. I'd planned to put her name on the deed, but Serena had refused. "Serena, that was my house." Before she could reply I added, "I've handed the divorce over to my lawyer. Contact him if you need anything." Then I hung up, whatever she'd wanted to say left unsaid. 9. I didn't even know she was in China until the next day, when an officer escorted her to Riley. I looked at her sitting in the living room, wondering what stunt this was. Parents volunteered to take a walk so we could talk. Calmly I asked, "What brings you back?" That single sentence reddened her eyes. "Rowan, you're heartless, selling the house and vanishing without a word." I couldn't help laughing. "Weren't you the one who kept asking for a divorce?" I simply gave you what you wanted. Serena shot back without thinking, I never wanted a divorce. The only man I've ever loved is you. My mouth curled in mockery. Really? You express love by hurting me? Sorry, I can't afford that brand of affection. She opened her mouth but couldn't find a retort. For the first time she saw the full damage she'd done. After a long silence she murmured, I only wanted to help Cameron, I never meant to hurt you. It wasn't love or even liking, just leftover obsession from high school. It was the first explanation she'd offered since Cameron appeared, but I no longer cared. I looked at her indifferently and gave a non-committal Serena fell silent. I sighed and said evenly, if there's nothing else, leave. It's hot, my parents shouldn't stay out in the sun. She hadn't expected to be shown the door and stood there stunned. I opened the door wide. Finally she admitted defeat and walked out, head low. I thought that would be the last I saw of her. Instead she rented a place nearby and left home-cooked meals at my door every day. Mom stared at the insulated boxes, at a loss, and asked what to do. I glanced at them and said flatly, leave it, she'll come fetch it herself. Serena didn't seem to mind the cold shoulder. Day after day she delivered new dishes. Later she added little desserts. Finally I couldn't take it, I waited by the door. When she saw me, her face lit up. She held out the container and said carefully, husband, I made spare ribs and broccoli, and some cream puffs, please try them. I took the box, her smile widened. But I walked straight to the trash can, glanced at her still startled face, and dropped it in. The clang of metal made her eyes instantly red. Choking back tears she asked why. I answered coldly. You're disrupting my life. She whispered, I just want to treat you well. I don't want a divorce. I didn't budge. You're wasting your time. There's nothing left between us. Tears poured down her cheeks. Why won't you forgive me? I love you. I gave a soft laugh, voice icy. I've had enough of being loved by you. She stared at me for a long time, then finally turned and walked slowly away. Before long the realtor informed me the house had sold. The buyer never haggled. When I signed the electronic contract, I saw Serena's name on the purchaser line. I asked no questions and simply waited for the funds. Life fell into a calm, happy routine. A month later, a colleague from the States called to say my old house had been torched. I was startled. I thought you might want to fly back, he joked. An image of Tessa flashed through my mind. After we hung up, I checked. Sure enough, it was Tessa. Because Serena now treated her coldly and refused to let the two of them inside, Tessa decided Serena had turned evil and needed a lesson. She waited until Serena got home, then tossed a lit match into the yard. That day a strong gust fanned the blaze, it spread too fast. By the time Serena finished her shower, escape was impossible. She died in the flames. Tessa, still a minor, received only a verbal warning, while Cameron was slapped with a heavy fine. I never expected the compensation money to end up in my account. In the end I donated every dollar to a rural children's fund. Not long afterward Cameron was indicted in the States for child neglect that led to death. When I saw the headline, I skimmed past it. That chapter was ash, my happiness sat in front of me. Julian. Dinner's ready. Dad made your favorite braised spare ribs today. Coming. I bounced out of bed and sprinted toward those glorious ribs.